Adam, the big story here involves ESPN basically getting a sports book. They now have ESPN Bet, or they're working on launching ESPN Bet with Penn Entertainment. So ESPN Bet is in. Barstool Sportsbook is out. Why is ESPN Bet potentially going to have a different fate than Barstool?
This is the biggest move they've made to date. Question that this is as all in as we've seen ESPN go. They're going to be paid $1.5 billion in cash over the next 10 years. Plus, they have the rights to about $500 million in stock warrants from Penn Entertainment, who is their new partner. So ESPN decided to take a big upfront payment here, but for all intents and purposes, they have chosen to pretty much stick the ESPN logo on the side of another sportsbook and not really do this themselves, right? And we've seen Fox and others try this before, where you essentially just take what is a standard sportsbook and put the logo of a big company on it and hope for the best. Now, this is the biggest of the big companies that you can take that logo and stick on it. And the reach for ESPN is just enormous compared to other sports books. But will it be able to make a dent against DraftKings, FanDuel, BetMGM, Caesars? That remains to be seen, because the technology that this is going to be running on is completely unseen and unproven. They had Penn Entertainment, a brand new sportsbook tech for Barstool Sportsbook, which of course now is out.
Win Terry's money didn't work for Fox when you had them promoting it on all those NFL games for the NFC. PointsBet has not worked, and Sunday Night Football was all over it, mentioning PointsBet again and again. And so I have my questions about whether or not this is going to work. My question to you is, what is success? Because a lot of the chatter that I've seen over the last 24 hours is, oh, this is going to fail. This is so stupid. And for the most part, I agree with that. But it depends what the bar is. If you're saying compete with DraftKings and FanDuel, yes, it is 100% going to fail. They're not going to be up there. But I've always felt, Adam, that there can be a number of winners. There isn't one or two winners.
There are multiple ways to get to success. It just depends on what the goals of your company are. And to make this relevant to the average person out there who's saying, you know what, just let me download an app and bet. Like, I don't care about all this business stuff. In the end, it does matter to you, because the more of these sports books that are out there, the more competition there is, the better the sign-up bonuses are, the better the promotions that you get regularly are. Hopefully, the better the odds you get are. That's always played out. And we know there are some who don't enjoy the regulated market experience because they don't feel like they can get the action that they want. But again, that goes to what you're saying. It's all about the goals of the company involved. And so if you're talking about a company like BetMGM, well, BetMGM has a large casino presence across the country, and their view of success might not be having to get to 50% market share. Their view of success could easily be second place, third place, whatever that number is, so long as sports betting is helping to build the rest of their business, right? They have people in on MGM rewards, and those MGM rewards are ultimately going to be redeemed for visits to the properties and for the ability to have meals, see shows, and in the end, for people to gamble. And that's a large part of what success looks like for all of these companies, because it's not just about betting on sports. It's about, for as many states as it's available, being able to play online casino games on your app. That is the long-term goal of all of these apps, is to be able to also have a profitable online casino, because the margins on it are a lot higher. We can talk about, Nevada's historical win rate being 5.4%, and then the FanDuels of the world being out there grabbing 11 right now because there are a lot of parlays to be played. But in the end, online casino, the win rates are far, far higher. It's multiples of what we're talking about here. So success really can be defined a number of different ways.
ESPN Bet will be more successful than Barstool Sportsbook. I don't think that's a hot take. It will be. but I don't think it's going to compete with the big boys. And why is that? Listen, since this network's launched, since legalization, all of us do our best and try to make everyone watching, everyone listening, a better. And the biggest thing when it comes to that is price shopping. And I've talked about it countless amount of times to the point where I'm sick of talking about it. The reality is most of our viewers, listeners, and that's people into betting, they're not price shopping. And they want convenience. And most people, I mean, like you just mentioned Illinois, how Barstool was 7th in this market. It's a very active market. It's a tough market. Most people I know, because I'm always curious. How many sports books do you have? It's 1 or 2. Mm-hmm. Like, why don't you have all of them? Well, people don't want their money spread out across 7 different sports books. People want convenience. They're going to go to their sports book. And when you bring up brand loyalty, I just have a hard time believing in established markets, people closing out or moving all of their money from 1 or 2 sports books over to ESPN because they watch the Pat McAfee show. Because during the game, they're talking about the live odds on the ESPN Bet app. Well, guess what? Those same damn live odds are available on my sportsbook that I already have on my phone, and I'm not going to be inconvenienced. It's all right there for me. So in established markets, I just have a tough time thinking that there's going to be this brand loyalty. It will be better, but a third of the market, even a fifth of the market, where ESPN is going to be switching, we're going to be switching from Barstool over to ESPN Bet. I just don't see that happening. Now, me and Paul have had this conversation before about Barstool and why it was unsuccessful. For some reason, we never thought to look there. It would be like the 7th sports book that I would check. And a lot of the websites that list various odds, for some reason, they would never list Barstool. They would list DraftKings, FanDuel, MGM, PointsBet, all of them, sometimes Caesars, but nobody ever listed Barstool. And I would just use it from time to time just because once in a while they would have the best price on a player prop. And I am price shopping. But part of the reason I would rarely look at Barstool is most times it would be minus 114 on both sides if we're talking about a game. Let's say we're talking about a point spread on a football game. Minus 112, minus 114. So after a while, I just stopped looking. Don't waste my time. You're doing these 28-cent lines half the time when everybody else is doing 20-cent lines. So there's nothing I want over there. So I just stopped checking.
I think we got a clue from the Hall of Fame game when Aaron Rodgers was mic'd up and said that Garrett Wilson reminds him a lot of Davante Adams. I'm thinking that might be his favorite target. Who knows? I mean, it does remain to be seen. I looked at Offensive Player of the Year because he won Offensive Rookie of the Year. I don't know how often that happens, so I stayed away from that. What I did land on is last season he had just over 1,100 receiving yards. Could he get to 1,500 plus with Aaron Rodgers? That would put him in the conversation with a Justin Jefferson, Tyreek Hill, Devontae. A.J. Brown was 4 yards short of 1,500 plus. That would be a bad beat if he finished with 1,496. But there is a bet for receivers to finish with 1,500 plus. And I think it's pretty interesting. That is definitely a bet that I looked at. It's 8-1 for Garrett Wilson to finish with 1,500 plus receiving yards.